today's decision by this illegitimate Supreme Court majority strikes a blow against the Voting Rights Act and is designed to undermine the ability of communities of color all across this country to elect their candidate of choice. But we're not here to step back, we're here to fight back.
Yes.
Now, when this decision came out earlier today, it's an unacceptable decision, but not an unexpected decision. Because this isn't even really the Roberts Court. It's the Trump Court.
Yes.
And what we would expect from the Trump Court is an effort to continue their scheme to suppress the vote and rig the midterm elections and beyond.
Leah, what do you see as the ripple effects? Are there other states that could now redraw their maps that you think are going to be likely to do so?
It's very possible. So one expert on voting rights, Professor Nick Stephanopoulos at Harvard Law School, actually estimated that a ruling to this effect in Louisiana versus Calais could affect up to potentially 50 legislative districts. Now, that's not to say all of those states might redraw their districts so close to the midterm elections, but that does underscore what a significant effect this ruling will have on our democracy and who is able to obtain political power. So,
all right, folks. Woo-hoo! The Democrats are steaming mad. I mean, this is almost like Trump was just elected again. This is how upset they are over this Supreme Court decision. All right, today, okay, the Supreme Court dropped a political earthquake, and the left is absolutely melting down. In a 6-3 decision led by Justice Alito, the court said something. It's not that radical, but it is in this day and age radical today. You don't get to redraw maps based on race. No more hiding behind the Voting Rights Act to justify racial engineering. All right. And now Democrats are calling it a dark day, while conservatives are calling it what it actually is: equal protection under the law. All right, we're going to get into it all, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all as you watch this broadcast. It's time for Pop and Politics. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-host. Of course, we have Nicole Bennett.
Hey, family.
And Shelly E.
Hi, everybody.
All right, so before we light this fire, and we got a lot to talk about. Today. Tap that thumbs up, folks, as you come in. Hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications. It really helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience if you hit that like button. And folks, what are you waiting for? Subscribe. We are live here on YouTube. If you're on the go, you can catch us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. We love our chat. We shout out every super chat. So drop your thoughts, show your love, and join the conversation that the mainstream media wishes didn't exist. They hate us. They hate us because, look, we are the direct opposite of what they claim. The Democrats, the left, we're all black, we're conservative, we're faith-based. Oh, my Lord, we're giving them indigestion, constipation, and diarrhea all at once. Okay? All right? So folks, you got to hit that like button. All right. This is not just a podcast. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, ladies, let's set it off. Want to get your first thoughts on this, Shelly, this landmark decision by the Supreme Court. What are your thoughts?
In the words of Bill Withers, It's a lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day. That's exactly what it is. That song is, is a mainstay, and it's so apropos. Look, if Black people, or let me say it this way, the race hustlers, if they want to claim that, we're equal and we want to get rid of the white supremacy, okay, then have us vote. Have everybody vote the same. One vote, one person, regardless of your skin color, as long as you are an American citizen, of course, but regardless of your skin color, regardless of your district. This is akin to, the schools being designated by zip code. You can't go to certain schools and all. Stop it. Stop it. You are an American citizen. You get one vote. Hakeem is ready to blow his top. Okay. He was ready to blow his top. This is good news for Americans, not just based on your skin color, not based on your party or where you live. One vote, one American.
All right. Nicole, what are your thoughts here?
Listen, it made my whole morning. I was sitting there on SCOTUS blog talking trash, in the chat with everybody else. And it really, I read the entire opinion, right? And then I read the dissents, and the dissents were like Hakeem Jeffries, hair on fire, hair on fire. But the truth is, for 30 years, we've been dancing around the Voters' Rights Act. We couldn't draw a map without first making communities super voters, right? And that was not fair to everyone else. And finally, we took a hard look at this and said, the Constitution does not allow states to racially discriminate, except for in two instances. That one of those incidents is people going to prison. If you're a white supremacist, they're not going to drop you in a jail full of Black folk. That makes good sense, right? The other occasion where they allow states to discriminate is if it was to correct constitutional or statutory injustice from history. Those are the two reasons. What they were asking the court is to make the Voting Rights Act, Section 2, another one of those exceptions to allowing states to let race be the predominant decider in anything. And the court said no. Playing field leveled. One American, one vote. Black people no longer have a super vote. You're going to have to learn about the candidates like everyone else. So finally, race has been removed from this piece of politics, and it's a great day for all Americans. Every single American, your vote now weighs the exact same amount. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Well, let's hear what they're talking about this on the news today and laying it all out. Take a look at this clip 1 where they lay it out here.
Good morning. Okay, so this at first blush here is a win for the plaintiffs who were not Black plaintiffs. They were non-minority voters who challenged this decision. These two districts that were minority majority. Essentially, Louisiana had drawn up districts, and then they were told in a legal battle that they had not represented Black and minority voters sufficiently. They went back and drew a second district. So they had two of these minority majority districts. Well, then non-Black voters sued and said, this is now violating our rights on the basis of race. So it looks like this is a 6-3 decision. There is one concurrence here, but it looks like the dissent sticks together with Justices Kagan, Sotomayor, and Jackson. But here's what the majority says. They say in some, because the Voting Rights Act did not require Louisiana to create an additional majority-minority district, no compelling interest justified the state's use of race in creating SB 8. That was those two new districts. That map is an unconstitutional gerrymander, and its use would violate the plaintiff's constitutional rights. Now, this opinion is almost 100 pages long, so we're going through to see if it says something more broadly about the Voting Rights Act. That had been the fear on the left, that somehow this decision, if it was favorable for those challenging these maps, that it would somehow do a big chunk out of the Voting Rights Act. Haven't gotten to language that suggests that yet. It sounds like this decision is primarily about what happened in Louisiana. So we'll keep digging through this. But for right now, it's a win for those who were challenging these two minority majority districts. Now, as we read through this and figure out the broader implications, there were 20 plus districts across the country that would have potentially lined up with this decision. They could be open to challenges that they were drawn on the basis of race, or that it was the primary factor that was used in drawing those districts. Most of those are throughout the South. So we'll look to see if there's enough sweeping language in this particular decision that may have a domino effect on some 20 other districts. Could be huge for the midterms. We'll continue to read through.
All right. So I want to take a moment here to unpack first the Voting Rights Act and then application after this ruling. So for folks who may not understand what's going on here, so they're particularly talking about Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which basically was put together to protect voters from discrimination based on race, color, or membership in certain language minority groups. All right. So unlike some other parts of the Voting Rights Act, this particular Section 2 applies to every state and local government in the U.S. All right. It covers a range of things: redistricting maps, at-large election systems, voter registration rules, polling place changes, and voting procedures that unfairly reduce minority voting strength. All right. So the reason why this was put into place, or I should say the results test standards, which what this is called, it's a violation can be proven even if there was no intentional racism, if the law or practice results in minority votes or voters having less opportunity than others to participate and elect candidates of their own race. So then in 1982, there was an amendment. Congress strengthened this Section 2 by changing it from requiring proof of intent to allowing proof based on discriminatory effects and results. So this is where I got a little confused on it, because because I'm all about, I've always thought that the results of something does not necessarily mean the intent was discriminatory or something like that. Do you ladies understand that part of this? Why?
To a degree. Basically, I like to put things in bottom line first. What it basically means is that any law, in this case, the Voting Rights Section 2, if the consequence is that people are going to be hindered or even further restricted from voting, then regardless of the intent, then that law or that process has to change, if you will. So for instance, if this is what we call the law of unintended consequences, that's all it is, right? That's basically what this is. So these laws, if we set up a law or some kind of process, let's say here in Maryland, and that process by no means was the intent to make a minority majority district or even the opposite, but that law prevents or prohibits, sets up some kind of roadblock where maybe the polling place does not have enough polls, so that means the people in that district are not going to be able to vote in a timely manner, whatever it could be, then we have to change that process or change that policy, whatever. The law of unintended consequences, again, that's number one. Number two, every time you have a law, a policy, a civil rights act, it just keeps getting more and more convoluted to the point where nobody knows what the hell to do. And then it's left up to the politicians who want to be in power. They keep adding things to their benefit, finding every little nudge, crook, and cranny that they can use to their benefit, regardless of how it affects the people. Again, bigger government, smaller people. That's what Dennis Prager, that applies here in my never to be humble opinion. But one of the things that I think was that Shannon Bream, whatever her name is, I think it was her. She said about the group that the plaintiffs, right? The plaintiffs were basically saying we're being discriminated against because of this. Again, maybe I don't think it was unintended in this case, but let's say it was unintended. But so when we create one law that specializes or carves out a group, particularly based on color, well, you are inevitably discriminated against the opposite group just by that particular policy. That's it.
Yeah. Nicole, what are your thoughts? Because some are saying this is basically what they're saying is that with this new ruling, it did somehow narrow the Voting Rights Act, the Section 2.
Yes.
Because it's now you can use it in redistricting cases, but it makes it harder for plaintiffs by requiring stronger proof to show that this was intent. You intended to discriminate. Is that right?
Yes. So the way it was written originally before the amendments required that you show that the opportunity was not available, right? So it wasn't something that you could, pie in the sky. It had to be something very tangible. So say there was a district that was heavily minority, but the polling place was 30 miles, and they don't have cars. Some kind of weird situation where people did not have an actual opportunity that was narrowly construed and easily proven. Well, politicians don't like that because it did not give them what they expected. What they were trying to build with the VRA was a weighted vote where they could grab a district of people. You remember what Maryland's map looked like, that broken wing pterodactyl where they cut Prince George's County into little pieces in Baltimore and blended it in with communities that had nothing to do with it. The Voting Rights Act says that these districts need to be compact. They were already in violation, but everybody turned a blind eye because remember, I told you the two exceptions that the Constitution allows for states to discriminate is if it's correcting a historic wrong, right? Something unconstitutional happened and they're trying to correct for that ill. Well, for 30 years, all it took was for you to say, well, we got a bunch of Black folk here and they want to vote for another Black person. Read Democrat. Because God forbid they have a district of Black Republicans, right? But Black, quote unquote, equals Democrat. So this was the way they catapulted themselves into power. Now, I can see where the VRA was created to right a wrong. All you have to do is pull up a picture of Congress in 1950. Heck, 1960. The only Black people there are the people who worked there, right? There were very few women. And that's just where we were as a nation. Again, we were still growing up. We are very much a very young country. We are still very much growing up. So now that the playing field has been leveled, take a look at what 2024 Congress looks like, 2025 Congress looks like. Now that the playing field has gotten relatively level, do we allow the cheating to continue? Do we allow them to continue to weight someone's vote over someone else? We don't. Because every American's vote should weigh the same. So when they talk about intention, when they talk about like these kind of subjective things, it makes it harder to prove than when we had something wholly objective that said they did this, it prevented us having the opportunity to vote the way that we wanted to vote. It suddenly became like this mystical, magical thing. And all you had to do was say group of Black folk. And you were like, ta-da! Majority minority district. So it's a day of reckoning and a day of growth. America has grown up. Today is a great day for Americans across the board. Now everybody's vote weighs the same. We're not going to build super districts anymore, and that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I wanted to say something else. Nicole, you made me think. This, the defendants, or I should say the defendants in this case, the people who were pushing for these majority minority districts, they are, number one, like you said, they originally it was to right or wrong, okay? But what they're doing is the opposite. And they're continuing to do the wrong, to correct the wrong that they claim still happened 200 something years ago. Okay. So that doesn't happen anymore. And I'll give you one, this just came to my mind. It may not be a perfect example, but when I think about early voting, you can vote across the city, the jurisdiction. You don't even have to go to your own polling place. So I say that because that knocks it out. If you don't even have to vote in your own polling place, but during early voting, every Black person I know, well, maybe one doesn't, has a car. You can get in your car. So that kind of dilutes that minority majority district in practice, if you will.
Well, even in your mail, they'll mail you a ballot. Sometimes you ain't even got to ask them. They're still mailing my nephew ballots here to my house. He hasn't lived here in like 5 years, right? So it's voting has become very much easier. So the opportunity quotient no longer exists. But this idea that simply because Black people are Black or Hispanic people are Hispanic, they deserve their own district that's much more powerful than their neighbors makes no sense. It makes no sense in today's America.
And just like you mentioned, it's not about the color. Democrats are doing this for the power, okay? And they actually said it on the news today on CNN. Take a look at this next clip. This is clip 10.
Just got this statement and from Louisiana Secretary of State Nancy Landry saying this about the ruling. My lawyers are currently analyzing the opinion. We are limited in what we can say at this time as this continues to be active litigation with the case remanded for proceedings back to the Western District. I know that's a lot of legalese, but the bottom line is early voting starts soon in Louisiana, Joan. So what can officials do there in light of this opinion?
Well, they can basically do whatever they want, and that's going to happen in a couple other states too. What they can do is they can push back some dates. First of all, the Supreme Court definitely threw out the map with 2 black majority districts, so we know that cannot be used. That will not be used for sure. So what they'll probably do, once they read the opinion carefully, as was just suggested there, probably draw a map that provides only 1 black majority district. But as you know, Pam, like Florida's in the middle of redistricting efforts now too. Other places are. And so I really anticipate that other states will do it. But if they don't do it for 2026, they'll get it in place for 2028. And then when we get to 2030 with the next round of a census and redistricting, it really will change all the ground rules for what states consider, because basically what the court did today was to say, if you're going to try to challenge vote dilution, and vote dilution is real. Lower court judges have found it to be real. Lower court judges who have been appointed by Republican presidents have found it to be a real problem, particularly in the South, but other places too. And what's going to happen is just identifying vote dilution will not be enough to get a map changed. They're going to, the challengers are going to have to say that there are no race-neutral reasons for this, and that's awfully hard, especially because of the partisan alignment between whites generally voting Republican and blacks generally being affiliated with the Democratic Party, Pam.
Wow. You heard what she said. She said because whites generally vote Republican and blacks align with the Democrat Party. So she's basically saying the reason why they're doing this is because they are scared that white folks are not going to vote for Democrats.
Well, they shouldn't be scared. That, history tells us they're not. I mean, they're still going to have those awful white women. They're absolutely going to have them. If they've got hair under their arms, they're going to vote Democrat. That's just how that thing works. But I will say this definitively: after the census, they won't know how anyone is going to vote. They won't know, and this is why they're shook. What they thought they knew so well. This time last year, Democrats thought they were the cat with the canary in the mouth. They thought they had this thing worked out. They had USAID, was cranking them money every which way but loose. They, were losing their grip on black folks, so they brought in a bunch of brown folk and then made black folk feel bad about not welcoming the brown folk. They had really their finger on the scale of the American political system. And no matter how much we cried, they did what they wanted to do. So here we sit, a year and some change later, and USAID is gone. They're not cranking money that way. We didn't shut down the Somali pipeline. That's not going their way. Oh, and today, 1 vote, 1 voice, everything weighs the same. I can understand why they're pitching a fit. We literally have snatched candy out of the baby's mouth. And this is what they're doing. Temper tantrum.
Yeah. Shelley, I mean, they're talking about, some conservatives are saying Republicans can gain 12 seats in the House with this new Supreme Court ruling. What are your thoughts there?
It's possible. It's like now everything, like, you throw the coins up in the air and they fall where they may, which is technically what your vote is supposed to be. You vote, and however the votes come out, whatever, one side wins, the other side loses. The thing is that not only does this scare them for black politicians, if you will, they can't use this predictably as they had been. It also means that black people, because the last election for President Trump, we saw more black people, particularly men, voting for President Trump, voting on the Republican side. So now, yes, black women by and large still vote Democrat, but now they're worried about that too. These race hustlers cannot necessarily automatically use our quote unquote race against us to their benefit. They can't do that anymore. And I hope and pray that it moves a little bit slow, a little bit more north to the southernmost northern state up here in Maryland, where they can get rid of some of these majority minority districts, as they call them. I hope it keeps moving on up the Mason-Dixon line. This is a win for America. No one, technically, if you have it, all things being equal, no party should have onus, if you will, on how you vote for their benefit. This shouldn't be. That's how you want it. If you want to call it colorblind, whatever, close as you can get. So this takes the power out of their hands, the politicians, and puts it back into the people's hands where it belongs. We the people.
Speaking of the people, let's talk about these super chats. What are people saying in the chat?
All right, let's see what you all have. Hey, we have Tam there. Thank you for your $5, Tam. She says, "Hey, ladies, love your show. Love you, my sisters in Christ." Thank you, Tam.
Thank you, Tam.
Thank you for your support. Tam, again, she's also one of our YouTube members, so thank you for that, Pam. She became one today, so congratulations. And Tam is going to be our top super chatter tonight. She also made a gift to a membership to another YouTube member. But thank you for that, Pam.
That's very good.
And of course, we have always faithful Kung Fu CJ. Yes. Thank you for your $2 super chat. Thank you for being one of our mods, and thank you for being a member of our Freedom Club. KJ is right. It is done for power. Absolutely. And let me tell you all out there in super chat land, you have the power to make us go wild, if you will, around the world in a day, whatever you want to call it. That's viral. Exactly. Viral many times. So number one, remember, we're hoping that you help us get to 250,000 viewers by, I guess, the end of the summer, after all the activities are over, certainly by the end of this year. That's number one. And number two, right now, you can make this go viral by hitting like, share, and subscribe right there on that button. Hit those buttons, go ahead and do it. And sharing any links, particularly our website, metroconservativemedia.com, and our Discord links, and shopping until you drop. One-stop shopping at metroconservativemedia.com.
Listen, today's the day to flex. Get yourself some merch. Go to your local Democrat stronghold and strut around like a peacock.
Absolutely.
Listen, today is the day. This is going to be a summer to remember. Our country is changing really fast. The culture is changing really fast. But the one thing that you can do is wear your politics on your heart. It's a great way to support the channel. You'll look great, and you'll be showing the world your politics. Give Me Back My Money is a very neutral shirt. I don't know an American who happily pays taxes. And if you know one, give them my address so they can write a check for me too, right? Not black, not white, American. Do not let them divide us. That is a Today shirt. This is the Today shirt. If there was ever a Today shirt, this is the shirt you want on, because the people who feel slighted, the Democrats who are in power, the DNC who feel slighted, have a way of emotionalizing topics to Black Americans where they don't see the truth. All they see and feel is the emotion. They're setting us back 100 years. No, what they're doing is making sure the playing field is level, because eventually the pendulum is going to swing back the other way. Eventually, it always does. This is a beautiful moment for everybody in this nation. Every American has the same voice. This is the perfect shirt for that. So buy yourself one, get one for your honey, your boo thing, your husband, your wife, your significant other, and everybody can look good this summer as we celebrate our A250. And Shelly with lip gloss. I told you, Ulta is having a sale also on lip gloss.
Y'all know I can't stand my lips to not have lipstick on or lip gloss on.
Good Lord. All right, folks. We're not done yet. I mean, we got to talk about the leftist meltdown. They are blowing their tops, folks. So Elena Kagan, she warned, claims minorities will be cracked out of power. I mean, they're calling it, as I mentioned, the dark day, a sledgehammer to civil rights. I mean, the list goes on, and they're really upset about this. We showed Hakeem Jeffries at the top of the show. He's flipping out about this. But there are some who are not, particularly this Ohio State rep, Josh Williams. Oh my gosh, he is becoming a real superstar for conservatives. He came out and he put out on X, said he is celebrating, he's a black man too, celebrating the Supreme Court's ruling that racial gerrymandering is unconstitutional, calling the practice a violation of the law. He said, and I quote, "I'm a black Republican who currently represents a majority white district in the Ohio State House and is running to represent a majority white district in Congress." He says, the idea that Black Americans need special districts carved out just for them is complete nonsense. Well done, Mr. Williams. This is, again, Ohio State Representative Josh Williams. Take a look at this next clip. This is from earlier this month, actually, where he's talking about a bill he has put out against he's talking about drag queens for kids, but I think it's more expansive than that. But take a look. This is clip 13.
Portion of the bill do you believe will prevent you from doing regular drag performances in front of adults?
Well, through the chair to the representative, I believe that the language is so vague that it does not allow an opportunity to clearly define what an adult cabaret space is versus what a performance space may be.
Follow up? Yes, thank you. So I actually have the bill here in front of me, and it's very specific on what an adult cabaret is, okay? And that it's a performance that is obscene or harmful to juveniles, which is found in 2907.01, the definition. It's clearly defined. It's been defined for a very long time, not only in Ohio, but in the United States. And it says if you engage in obscene conduct in your performance, that you can't do it in the presence of a minor.
Right.
It doesn't say you can't even do it in the presence of adults. There's even an exception. You can do it in a private residence or anywhere where children are not present. So that means the only thing it is prohibiting is obscene performances in the presence of minors. And the definition of obscene performances, it says things like depicting sexual activity, masturbation, sexual excitement, nudity in a way that represents human beings as mere objects of sexual appetite. Why do you think drag performers should be able to engage in simulated masturbation, simulated sexual activity in the presence of a minor? Because that's the only thing that the bill bans.
Through the chair to the representative, there are a lot of things in that statement. And I can reply to one of those being that there are already laws on the books here in the state of Ohio that deal with such obscene performances and behavior. And I don't see how this bill reinforces or does anything to further that.
Follow up? Thank you, Chair. Actually, there isn't. In the state of Ohio right now, there are gaps in our laws. A strip club cannot allow a minor to be present during a strip performance, but the stripper can go into the parking lot and perform in the presence of a minor in the state of Ohio, and it's lawful under our current laws. Under our current laws right now, that is absolutely permitted, and we've seen performances at public parks that cross the line. So I'll repeat the simple question. Why do you think you should be able to perform an obscene, and the bill does not say drag queen performances are inherently obscene. I know other states have taken that approach. This bill does not do that.
What's wrong with that? I mean, it seemed like to me a common sense bill. And he was very respectful. He was very, matter of fact, and he just laid it out. Just common sense. This is what I'm talking about, folks. And we're going to talk a little bit about this later on. You know, we get a bad rap, Republicans, conservatives. They try to make it seem like we are like Nazis, fascists, homophobes, racists, all these names. That made perfect sense to me as Representative Josh laid it out. What are your thoughts there, Nicole?
Listen, one, I like the control of the media, right?
Mhm.
So nobody's acting up, nobody's shouting and carrying on. But I also like that he was prepared and brought his facts. So actually, there are lots of gaps in the Ohio law. There are lots of gray spaces. If there weren't gray spaces, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be having this meeting. We would not be wasting our time. But rather than raise his voice, rather than yell or take a hardline stance, he met him at every turn. That's your reason. Here's why. You want to know why? Here's another reason why. He met him at every turn. And that's what you know when you know you have a good legislator, someone who's been very thoughtful, who's taken a whole look at the process. There's no name calling. He's not shaming him. But Ohioans don't want drag queens in front of their children. They do not want their children intimidated by what they see, whether it's a sexual performance by a male or a female, makes no difference. They want their children to be children. And I think he made that abundantly clear in his remarks. And he did it in a way that did not ooze with, emotionalism, just facts. And that's why it resonated so well.
Yeah. Another point that he brought out, again, to his credit, he even, I guess I'm going to say, he even allowed that Ohio law does not, this particular law does not even say that drag queen shows are obscene as some. So they even took out that quote unquote ad hominem language, if you want to call it that, right? They took that out of this particular bill. But these people, when you have, I guess I'm going to call it, in my never be humble opinion, when you have a penchant, a bent, that children are, number one, equal to you as an adult, number one, and that you think it's your obligation, I guess, to do whatever you want to do in front of children. He even said you can do these things in the privacy of your home, not in front of children, things like that. The strip lady or the strip club person, you can't do it in a strip bar, but that same person can go outside according to current Ohio law. Nothing. When your penchant is to totally pervert children, their sense of innocence, their sense of modesty, then nothing is going to matter. No allowances, no leeway, if you will. Nothing is going to matter because it's your warped mind. It's your warped mind that is the heart of the issue, if you will. That's what it is. So these people, or at least the people that think like them, and that man, I mean, I can appreciate. Now, don't get me wrong. I want to appreciate that more laws are not necessarily the answer. I mean, many cases they're not. But this one, they were trying to correct it apparently because children have been exposed to this, and the parents have been having pushback about not allowing their children to be removed from these activities,
right?
And yeah. I bet he doesn't even have children. I bet he doesn't even have children.
Yeah. I agree with you, Shelley. And just one last point, KJ, is that children don't belong to everybody. Children belong to their parents, and some parents struggle with just what we call straight sexuality, explaining that to their children, right? The difference between mommy and daddy and all of that kind of thing. Imagine you're struggling. I mean, you're prayerful. You're like, okay, I know what I'm going to say. I got it locked down in my mind. And your kid comes home telling you about, this man has a penis and boobs and he had on a wig. And can you imagine the horror of trying to unteach your child that? Once that bell is rung, it's going to be hard to put that toothpaste back in the tube. It's going to be hard. And again, children
it is going to be hard.
It's
going to be hard. And it's going to be hard to put that toothpaste back in the tube. Folks, you know what I mean when I say that.
You know what, JJ.
It's hard. It's very hard. Yeah. We got, and folks, this is what it's about. Okay. Historically, drag has been sexual. All right. And so this whole idea now is that they're trying, we're okay to read to the kids and all this type of stuff. It doesn't even make sense. Drag has always been sexual. It's been party. It's been, risque, whatever. So the point that they're trying to incorporate this in children's play and reading, it's just weird. It's just weird.
It's wicked.
That's what it is, wicked. Because listen, drag is for adults. For adults who go through. That's what drag is for. But we're not going to normalize adult things for children. And that's just not for drag. I don't want, a woman swinging around a pole reading Hickory Dickory Dock either. You know what I mean? Let kids be kids. Give them a few years. Let them, enjoy the wonder of their childhood before we start unleashing all of the perversion that can happen once you're an adult.
Absolutely.
All right. We have some super chats, folks. Thank you guys so much.
All right. Let's see who we have here. We have Kung Fu CJ is back again. Thank you for your $2, Kung Fu. Lies, lies, lies. I thought it said Democrats. Democrats are sore losers. Thank you, Kung Fu CJ. We also have Southern Charm. Thank you for your $5. People who participate in those activities, quote unquote, don't have the same values as we do, which means they think everything they do is okay in front of kids. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's warped. It's wicked. Keep your dick out of the faces of children. That's it.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, we wanted to show that video because this Representative Josh Williams, he's a rising star out of Ohio. We have Vivek running there. Perhaps he'll be the next one running for governor of Ohio. I really like him, so he's one to watch. All right, so there's still more breaking news out, folks. And we want to go to Florida. All right. So Florida, my boy DeSantis said, I am going to be there for the party. We're going to bring this out. We're going to bring this through. And now he just lit a political firestorm, and Washington is about to feel it. Republicans in Florida have now passed a brand new congressional map. Didn't take them long either. Good Lord.
Oh, no.
That could wipe out up to 4 Democrat seats overnight and flip the balance of power heading into the midterm. I'm actually starting to get the warm and fuzzies, folks. I got to admit to you, I was down about this. I'm still kind of nervous, but this is starting to look up. So with Ron DeSantis ready to sign it, I think he may have already signed it by now. Because it just passed the Senate, they have a new map. Take a look. This is clip 3.
Representative Persons Mullica has waived closed. The question now recurs on final passage of HB 1D. The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will proceed to vote. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? The clerk will lock the machine and announce the vote.
83 yeas, 28 nays, Mr. Speaker.
Show the bill passes. Read the next bill.
None on the desk, Mr. Speaker.
Wow. So that was it. It's passed. They are targeting districts in Tampa, which I love Tampa, Orlando, and South Florida. So as again, up to 4 seats could flip. Nicole, what are your thoughts?
Goodbye, Deborah Wasserman Schultz. See you later. Assalamu alaikum, girlfriend. You got to go. I'm very excited, mostly because some of these districts were drawn because of race. They weren't drawn because of politics. They were drawn because of race. So maybe, just maybe, the next time someone goes running to the Supremes with a gerrymandered map, it'll be because of diluted political power. Imagine that. Imagine that. Following the law. That would be like, can you imagine the argument, the ideas that would come out of that court session? It would be something worth watching. But I love that Florida has taken a progressive step. DeSantis had already said that Florida was locked and loaded, and apparently he wasn't playing because they got this done, like they were running for lunch. They got it done, and they got it done quick. And I have every expectation that states across the South are going to do the same. Again, remember I told you about that pendulum. When you're gaming the system, it can only reach up but so high. When it starts coming back at you, things can get kind of hairy. And I don't want to say I completely understand how some groups have felt disenfranchised for 30 years. Because here in Maryland, as a Republican, I feel absolutely disenfranchised because they chop up our vote the best way they know how. We still have Western Maryland is still very red, and we still have the Eastern Shore that's got a bunch of Democrats, but we outwork them. So we have red delegations there. But imagine what this is going to look like once people stop doing it by race. It's going to be amazing. It is absolutely going to be amazing. Maybe, just maybe, PG will stay one district instead of influencing every single part of the state of Maryland. This is going to be amazing. I can't wait.
Yeah. Shelly, what are your thoughts there?
Here I go. I'm raining y'all parade. I'm not so optimistic. I'm not actually cynical, but I'm just a little cautious. And let me tell you why. Because like you mentioned, Nicole, that pendulum, because these politicians, when the next group comes, it's going to go back and forth. Don't get me wrong. I'm not upset about their vote. I'm not upset about that. And if it's making things fair, if you will, as it's supposed to be, all for it. I'm all for it. I just know history, experience, real life, real time, real people tells me that politicians, by and large, they want power and they will undo things that work if it's going to mean more power for them and vice versa. So I'm just a little cautious that this pendulum is going to keep going for some elections to come. That's my only concern. I'm glad about the vote itself for Florida because I think they are trying to make those districts, if you will, as colorblind as possible.
Agreed. I think I like the most about it is now politicians don't get to pick their voters. There's going to be competition. Now, just because they draw a district that's, R4 or R5 district doesn't necessarily mean a Republican is going to win, right? You still have to compete. And this is what we've been saying from the onset.
Exactly.
We want our candidates to come to us and ask for our vote. Prove why you're the best person for it. Not just because you have an R behind your name, we should all pile in behind you. You have to compete for the vote. And I think you're going to see some shakeups, in not only our districts, but in some D districts too. I think we're going to see some shakeups.
Yeah. Well, folks, I mean, I got 2 words. Is it 2 words? Yeah, 2 words. To the southern states, to, Avengers, assemble. Get this thing going. I mean, you see, Captain America, DeSantis, he already was in. He didn't even have to call. Soon as Virginia said it, he started. Let's go. Let's go.
That's why we need DeSantis as state governor. Well, we needed DeSantis as state governor, right, for this round at least. So,
yes, we did. Now, and that's another thing. Make this man put him on the Supreme Court. Put him on the Supreme Court.
I would definitely go with that.
I hope we can get another Supreme Justice because they're getting older. I mean, they're getting old. Put this man on the Supreme Court. That's my next prayer.
All right, let's see who we have. Super chatters here. We have a few coming on, Mr. Producer. We have Tijuana for the jumper. Thank you for your $10 super chat. Thank you for being a member of our Freedom Club. Good evening, ladies. Nicole. Thank you so much for that, Tijuana. Kung Fu CJ is back again. Thank you for your $5 super chat. Matthew 24 says it will be like the days of Noah. People will be doing everything under the sun. Yep. Yep. Thank you for that. And Josh, hi Josh. Thank you for your $20 super chat and for being a member of our Freedom Club as well. We had a massive win today. So now we need some real economic wins. I'm with you, Josh, and some media control. Also, bye.
That's what I said.
Schultz. I know from personal experience, she is one of the meanest persons in DC. All right, Josh. Josh got the dirt on Debbie.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? I mean, if you ever been around her, you know what it is. My goodness.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, we still got to talk about these Democrats. They are pissed. Okay. And as you mentioned, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is one that's in the crosshairs. Kathy Castor, Darren Soto, Jared Moskowitz, they're all districts that can be redrawn. But they are pissed. And so actually during the vote today in Florida, or yesterday, no, it was today, there was a woman who was just going off as they were voting on the vote. I believe we have the clip here, some deranged Democrat. She got a total meltdown. This is clip 6.
Democracy. This is a violation of the Constitution. It is. It's a violation of the Constitution. I'm out of order, but y'all are doing illegal.
Representative Persons Mullica has waived closed. The question now recurs on final passage of HB 1D. The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will proceed to vote. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? The clerk will lock the machine and announce the vote.
83 yeas, 28 nays, Mr. Speaker.
Show the bill passes. Read the next bill.
None on the desk, Mr. Speaker.
Now, have we seen LaToya here in Maryland? She's one of the lone Republicans in the Maryland General Assembly. Does she do stuff like that? Do any of the Republicans do that? And the Democrats have a super majority here in Maryland. Nicole, you know you've been around this stuff for a while.
No, let me tell you. So decorum is a thing. And what would generally happen if you act out that way, you would be removed from your committee, right? So you may be on a great committee, a committee that you feel like you're doing great work for your community and everybody else's community. And then suddenly you'll be on the fold up the paperclip committee because you acted a whole ass. Now, he could have stopped the vote. He could have had the sergeant at arms remove her, but that would have stopped what he wanted done. What he allowed her to do is to make a fool of herself on the record, right? And this is what she's saying. Yeah, I know I'm out of order, but this is unconstitutional. Out of order means that you're now going to lose the power that you were elected to have. You're going to be removed from your committee. You're probably going to be publicly censured. And for what she did, it'll probably something all in the Florida newspapers about how she acted up and why this is not appropriate. So there are many ways that they can discipline her. And 9 times out of 10, if she has a primary challenger, now her challenger has some good footage to run against her. It was a dumb move all the way around. Yeah. Absolutely dumb move all the way around. Yeah. Shouting at the top of your lungs doesn't work. Ask Al Green, the representative from Texas that will be going home in December permanently. Yeah, this is what happens when you act a fool. You cannot do that.
Someone asked her name. I think it's Angie Nixon. Is that her name?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Angie.
Yeah. Oh. I mean, Shelley, we've seen today and yesterday these Democrats losing their minds. They're outraged, calling this anti-democratic or anti-democracy. But we saw them do the same thing in the blue states like California and Virginia. They aggressively pushed for redistricting, so much so that these maps that they created was so far outlandish and unfair as far as the fairness of Democrats and Republicans. So, I mean, what's going on here?
I'll tell you what's going on. The race hustlers, they are just like Massa. They want to keep the Negroes on the plantation. They want to keep them Negroes voting Democrat all their lives. That's what they want. They want them Negroes. They better chase them down. They got to hunt them down and keep them, rope them up. They got to get the Negroes back on the plantation. And they will do whatever they can to keep them there. The Angie Nixons, the Hakeem Jeffries, and any other Al Greens and whomever else, they got to keep some of the Negroes. They got to keep as many as they can on that plantation.
You think about what's going to happen in Minnesota. In Ilhan Omar's seat, majority Somali district, those weighted votes, not so much anymore. I mean, this is going to be the Wild West of politics. This is what this is going to do. It takes everything and throws it up in the air and tells the American people, now you get to pick. We're not going to pick for you. You get to pick. And there are going to be some surprises. I mean, some people legitimately are going to win in places where they're not supposed to. And that's what happens when you campaign well. When you get out, you meet the people, you sell yourself, and they say, yeah, we like you. We'll pick you. We'll give you a try. But gone are the days that a district has to vote a certain way. If you live in Ilhan Omar's district, you have to vote for her because this is a majority minority district and she's a minority candidate. You never know. They might elect somebody else now.
It's the same thing. Like I said, these plantation gatekeepers, like someone said, they'll tell you what school you can go to. They want to tell you how much money you can have and earn and who you can have in your house, particularly if you have children, you can't have the father there. They want to tell you who you can vote for. That's what these modern day masses do. They want all the Negroes to stay on the plantation.
Right. And they want power and control. All right. That's just in the nutshell. Power and control. And nobody wants power and control more than a dirty, filthy cop. And that takes us to James Comey, the dirtiest cop of them all. Filthy, like a used condom. That's what he reminds me of.
AJ.
Oh, yeah. Out of a dirty whore. So let's get to this. James Comey, on yesterday, the Department of Justice indicted former FBI Director James Comey on 2 charges: threatening the life of a president and transmitting a threat across state lines. It's actually the second time the administration has come for Comey. Come for him. All right. The first indictment was thrown out. Will this one stick? Take a look here. This is clip 4.
Good afternoon. Today, a grand jury sitting in the Eastern District of North Carolina returned an indictment against James Comey on 2 counts. The first count is that on or about May 15th of last year, he knowingly and willfully making a threat to take the life of and to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States. Count 2, same day, May 15th, 2025, that the defendant, James Comey, knowingly and willfully transmitting in interstate commerce a communication that contained a threat to kill the President of the United States. Both of these counts carry a maximum term of imprisonment of 10 years.
All right. All right. So this case, as we talked about this in the past, it stems from a now deleted May 15th, 2025 Instagram post. He posted a photo of seashells on a North Carolina beach arranged to spell 8647 or 8647. All right. He captioned it something like "cool shell formation on my beach wall." Okay. He quickly deleted it and followed up saying he assumed it was a political message, didn't realize some people link the numbers to violence, and that he opposes violence of any kind. All right. So as we know, 86 is well-known slang. You know, it's restaurant lingo for remove or get rid of, 86 them, you know, and of course 47 is we're in the 47. Donald Trump is the 47th president. All right. So the DOJ is saying a reasonable recipient familiar with the circumstances would see this as a serious threat to harm Trump. Comey self-surrendered, made a quick court appearance, and posted a defiant Substack video titled "I'm still innocent. I'm still not afraid. Let's go." All right. So, Shelley, what are your thoughts on this?
James Comey will most likely not be prosecuted. And I'll tell you why. Number one, as much as I detest James Comey, I don't like people being charged with bogus charges. This is what I call government overreach. That's number one. Number two, more importantly, legally, there is political speech is protected. The onus is on the DOJ to prove his intent. I mean, he can say whatever, you know, it's intent. Did he intend to or reasonably harm the president or have someone harm the president? Like it or not, 86, we get it, what it means, like it or not. I don't think he's going to be he's indicted. I don't think he's going to be prosecuted and convicted. Certainly. I don't think so. I think this is going to be one of those, if you want to call it a gray area, but I don't think they're going to be able to prove intent, that he intended to harm or have harm come to the president.
All right. Nicole, what are your thoughts?
I think he will go the way of the other people that have been arrested for terroristic threats against the president. People have been charged and have been prosecuted, and some of them have paid some steep fines, and some of them are sitting in jail cells today, depending on their level of legal protection. You know, that means money, something that Comey has a lot of. Political friends, something that Comey has a lot of. So I agree with Shelley that it's going to be a salacious case. I think it's going to be a very interesting case, but ultimately I don't think he'll be convicted. I don't think the idea is to actually convict him. I think the idea is to show him that he is not above reproach. that he too has to watch his language. When you have the privilege of being top cop, you can't say 86 anybody without people knowing that you know what that means. And this is why he was easily indicted. Listen, if he was some rando off the corner and wrote 8647, he could reasonably argue that maybe those was his lotto numbers for today, his locker combination, some foreign set of numbers that meant nothing to him. But James Comey, being who he is, he knew damn well what he was doing. The consciousness of guilt was the quickly deleting of the message. What he did not know is that, the internets are forever. People take pictures of things all of the time. And yeah, is it lawfare? Is it the same thing that happened on our side of the coin? Without question. Without question. Is it fair? Probably not. Will it continue? Absolutely.
Well, let's take a look here at this next clip. This is President Trump's former attorney, Alina Habba, and she's providing some pretty good response to the ladies of The View on why Comey needed to be indicted. This is clip 7.
Well, during Hot Topics earlier today, we discussed the most recent federal indictment of former FBI Director James Comey related to an Instagram post of seashells, an Instagram post that he deleted the very next day and apologized for. Do you think Comey's post rises to the level of a criminal threat against the life of the president and supports an indictment?
I do. I'll explain why. After Comey's post, and this is where I go back to Saturday's events, the responsibility of certain individuals like us. We all have a very big voice. He is a former FBI director. He knows what 8647 meant. There's no question about it. He actually went on TV later.
What do you think 86 means?
To kill the president, to get rid of the president. That's what it means. By the way, his words, not mine. If you look at his late night show.
But the dictionary disagrees with you on that.
Well, he's the FBI director.
They use it in restaurants. Do they mean to kill any
You don't
of the
think
meat?
it
What
might
are they
remove him?
Let
me just tell you what happened after James Comey's post. A gentleman posted that about me. He posted on Twitter 86 Habba, and he was also charged. He was charged in Florida, and he was held accountable because you cannot do it. Now, this is an FBI director. We have responsibilities. You guys have responsibilities not to call the president certain things or say things that could incite violence. I most certainly think after Saturday, I have a completely new perspective on how important our voices are and how we use them.
Can I mention one thing, that Matt Gaetz also used that 86 many times and nothing happened to him?
Well, I think we look at everything. I'll be honest with you. Absolutely everything is in context. I don't think anybody is immune to it. I don't think we should be sitting here and nobody has condemned Jimmy Kimmel for his comments. Those were despicable.
Let's talk about this really quickly. So she's providing, evidence or background context why she feels the DOJ moved forward with this indictment against Comey. And the only thing they can do is, but what about? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And folks, anybody who can sit here and say that man didn't know what 86 means, come on. I mean, we got to look at context here. This guy led the Russia hoax machine. He leaked memos. He spent years demonizing Trump. I mean, the guy has got TDS. He's like the chairman of the TDS board. All right. When a high profile ex-FBI boss drops something like this inflammatory, I mean, it's not just seashells.
No, but
guys.
To your point, KJ, the counter, number one, she started, I don't think she gave a very strong argument for why this had to. She started off with linking this to the events at the White House Correspondent Dinner. Well, this happened back in May 2025. That's number one. Number two, Comey was not, he was indicted on some of those charges that you just mentioned, but he, I guess, quote unquote, beat the rap, so to speak, because it didn't go through. So he's not being charged for the Russia hoax and all that stuff. As guilty as I believe he is, he's not being charged for that here.
I'm providing context.
But you can't use that for this. That has nothing to do with this. No, that's the court of public opinion. That's not
what
for
I'm
the
saying.
legal indictment.
I'm responding to people who are saying he had no idea what 86 meant. He had no idea this was not any, he was not meaning to make this be some type of message. When you look at context surrounding this, of course he knew this was a message.
And I agree with what she connected it to was what happened to her.
Right.
86 Hava.
Right. She was trying to show she was comparing it.
Because what happens is,
but not Saturday. It makes it look reactionary because this happened over a year ago or just about a year ago is what I'm saying. So she started off with saying, I'll tell you why. The one about her happening to her is a little bit more. You can see, okay, I can see why she could say this or what some of the whatever some of the context is, but. Him doing the seashells had nothing to do with Saturday's events at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Well, I didn't hear her say
no, that's what she said.
Oh,
that's what she started off by saying.
I didn't get that from. I thought she was trying to show context because they kept asking her additional questions on who about this, who about that, and she was trying to answer what they were saying outside of the proving what was going on with Comey, why he needed to be indicted. But let's keep going. Let's keep going here.
Pointed out earlier, and the president also posted death to Democrats. Do you think the president should be held responsible for that?
When all due respect, I haven't seen that post. I will tell you what I did.
It does exist.
Okay, what I can tell you is this, and who was the Attorney General and the DOJ at that point?
Probably Pam Bondi, no?
No. Here's how I feel about this. Here's directly how I feel about this. Nobody should be inciting violence, period. That's my perspective.
Including the president.
But you have to remember something. The Department of Justice brings real cases. We are not Jack Smith. We are not Letitia James. We bring real cases against people.
No, I know. I actually had the pleasure of serving as a...
What did you say here, Nicole?
Listen, she hit the nail right on the head. This is about real people and real cases. This is not about, how you feel about a post. If someone's saying kill the president and then kill her, she's just somebody in the administration. That's real. That's real. And this post where they say that Donald Trump said death to Democrats. Now, listen, I see a lot of posts. I haven't seen that one.
Maybe I haven't seen it either.
I don't know where they got it from. And God knows we would have talked it to death, but I've not seen it.
I think she's referring to the one that he said punishable by death when he was talking about their seditious behavior during the time when they made the commercial. I think that's what she's referring to. But that's not, he didn't say death.
These people embellish, lie, and misinform. This is what they do.
Well, in this instance, she's deflecting. This is what she's doing, deflecting from the point.
Absolutely. Here we go. Let's keep going.
Former federal prosecutor at the Department of Justice. But let me ask you this. I do believe that this is a vindictive prosecution against Comey, directed by the president. And so far, against Comey, directed. I had the pleasure of serving as a former federal prosecutor.
Former federal, what was it, Shelley?
Former federal fuck up.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
At the Department of Justice. But let me ask you this. I do believe that...
I gotta say, and the way she does it, oh my God, I just hate this woman. I know I'm not supposed to hate people, but she makes me sick. She's so smug, so condescending. I have the pleasure of being a former federal prosecutor with the Department of Justice. It's just like, nobody, you're a talk show host now on the crappy View. Nobody cares what you and your wig were. Oh my gosh.
This is a vindictive prosecution against Comey, directed by the president. And so far with little success because he's done this many times. As Trump's personal attorney, you actually were sanctioned nearly $1 million for filing a frivolous civil lawsuit against Comey, against Hillary Clinton and others that a federal judge called political grievances masquerading as legal claims. So why should anyone believe this pattern of targeting Trump's enemies is about justice and not revenge?
If you think that the Russian collusion hoax, if you think that the things that we've now seen evidence of in this Department of Justice aren't real, I just tell you to sit tight because things are coming.
because what they did was weaponized. I don't want to hear about weaponization because the reason you all know who I am is because of weaponization.
She's right.
Come through, Helena.
Yeah. I mean, talk about weaponization. I mean, we all saw this. Letitia James. What was the guy's name? I mean, the list goes on. Jack Smith. The girl in Florida, Fannie Willis.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, and they were all colluding together. I mean, this goes so deep. And folks, if you have not seen, Dan Bongino did an interview today with Sean Hannity. Oh my God, that thing was like a horror movie. I mean, he is very worried. He's afraid. He would not go into detail of everything that he's seen as an FBI agent. But he's like, he knows that once the Democrats get back into power, they're going to come for him.
Absolutely. Listen,
the swamp is deep. I said a couple weeks ago, Dan knows stuff that he can't say. And I love Dan, whatever, but the swamp is deep.
When Democrats get back in power, they've already said what it's going to be. They've already come out and said, if you're a corporation that's donated to Trump, once we're back in power, you're going to have to answer for that. Wow. Any organization close to the president, you're going to have to, not pretty much, this is what they said.
Anybody, yes.
Former Secretary Rice sat square in the camera, looked dead in the camera and said, you will have to answer. So, there are going to be a lot of pardons. There are going to be a lot of pardons, handed out at the end of Trump 2.0. But I don't know if he's going to be able to get everybody pardoned. So there are going to be some IRS, especially for organizations that were supportive of Trump. There are going to be some audits. I mean, think about what Charlie Kirk was going through under the Biden presidency. They were trying to put him in federal prison. He's one of the most honest men in the nation. They were trying to lock his ass up because he dared support Trump, because he said the election was stolen. I mean, when I talk about lawfare, and people say, oh, well, it's just dirty pool on both sides. It's not the same. Nope. It's not the same, because if we did what they did, they'd all be locked up by now. And there are a lot of conservatives who are saying, how come there aren't more people locked up?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, I want to show you guys just very quickly this clip of Dan Bongino today on Sean Hannity. This will send chills up your spine, folks, of what we're dealing with here. Take a look here. Let me see here. Okay, here we go.
But listen, I will never be the same, and I'm being as serious as a stroke right now. I'm scared, man. Like, I know what I did, and I'm proud of my work, and I'm proud of what me and Cash accomplished in the past year, beyond proud. I know what we did. I know what's coming. I know what I started. I know what I laid out, and I know it's all, you saw a lot of these cases coming out over the past few days even. But don't think for a second that I don't think every day, and this is what's really sad, and this is why I know, and I never thought this after reading that enough Friday night, that they're going to come for me.
Let me tell you something. This man is a patriot. Charlie Kirk is a patriot. Donald Trump is a patriot. We are patriots. We don't have to do this stuff. Nobody money is available, is worth the stuff he's talking about. These people are facing real threats. My God, we lost Charlie Kirk, was assassinated. And then you got it coming from the right too now, with people like Candace Owens and the rest of them. I mean, this is real. This is very dangerous. And to hear him say that, we all as Americans should shudder at the thought that somebody who says they want to work, they want to dedicate their lives or dedicate their time to public service in pursuit of the truth, now is fearful for his life and for whomever else is like. We don't know, because he probably can't say everything.
Oh no,
because of pursuit of the truth.
Yeah, well, he's got cases coming. This is what they were talking about. There are some cases, the DOJ turns real slow. There are some cases that he worked on that still haven't come to the public eye yet, but they're coming. And some of those cases will be like what Helena Haba was referring to. There's going to be some ish, and it's going to be terrible. It is going to be terrible for people who are truth tellers, people who have information. They're going to be putting life and limb on the line in order to get to the truth. And that's going to be difficult.
I'll repeat. The swamp knows no party. If you are not part of the swamp, or if you have done something, quote unquote, that the swamp thinks that it's against the swamp, it's beyond the level. At that level, it's not a D, it's not an R. It's, are you one of us or not? And if we deem that you're not one of the swamp people, you dare to think outside of the swamp mentality, the Borg mentality, then you are a target. Hearing Dan Bongino say that, it does cause chills, if you will. It causes you to, we are beyond at that level when the power, the money, whatever you want to call it, is so great and allows you to have that much control. You don't want to give it up. You want the swamp eats its own, and the swamp must exist. That's what the motto is. That's what I'm saying the motto is of the swamp. The swamp must exist. We are swamp. If you're not saying that, then you become a target.
Yeah, here we are. He continues on here.
And listen, man, it's not a sob story. I knew what I was getting into. But it happened to the president, and he went through just the worst destruction of his civil liberties I've ever seen. But I say to my wife all the time, I know, Sean, I can look you in the face as a friend, tell you and your millions of viewers and listeners, I promise you everything I did with a dotted I and a crossed T. I brought in my own attorney from the outside, person I trusted, a wonderful, wonderful person. I said, no, everything is going to be by the book, everything. I'm confident in that. And you know what? It don't matter. They'll rewrite the book, just like they did for President Trump. And I said to my wife, I said, I got a 14-year-old. The presidency could change. I hope it doesn't in a little over 2 years. You don't think on election night, if we lose, like it's not going through my head, like they're going to send some thugs to my house? I was never the same after that, because after reading what I read about how many people did this to President Trump, this Russia hoax, collusion, crossfire hurricane bullshit, and not a single person stopped them, I'm terrified that they're just not going to do the right thing when they're in charge.
Wow. There it is.
That's the best campaign commercial ever. The best campaign commercial ever for Republicans. Ever.
Yeah.
I wouldn't add a word.
Man's name in Florida. You had Trump, his allies. I think Steve Bannon, Trump himself. His home was raided. Carter Page, the other man, I can't think of his name.
Fleming,
what was his name?
Colonel Fleming.
Roger Stone.
Roger Stone and Fleming. What was it? Colonel Fleming or Colonel
Flynn.
Flynn.
Yes. Because they, and again, we think. I know. I'm going to guess that Dan is maybe he's not even, he's saying they. He's not necessarily saying Democrats. This is swamp.
He is.
No. Listen, I'm not saying that they're not, but this is swamp level. He's what he's talking about. This is swamp level, because all those people who do the raids, who take out the orders, they're not only Democrats that do that. They are swamp bureaucrats. That's what I'm saying. That's why he's not specifically saying Democrat, because I don't think it's just, he's talking about swamp creatures, period. At that level, it doesn't matter if you're a D or an R. It matters if you're a part of the swamp or not.
But they're working on for the Democrats. I mean, they're trying to keep Biden, get Kamala in office. They're all, I mean, yes, I agree with you with these bureaucrats, but they're all working, it seems to be, for one particular party. I mean, not just them, but we saw with the SPLC, we saw with the USAID. All of these people are working to keep government large, for control.
America. Exactly.
Right. And we know generally the party for big government are the Democrats. That's what I see. But I mean, again, I'm sure everybody can get pulled in, but I mean, this is what it is. Folks, sound off in the chat. Let us know what you think. Also, please, your super chats go a long way in keeping us online, and we certainly appreciate the support. All right, moving right along here. So we're talking about these. Oh, we have a super chat here.
Super chat, yeah. We have Crystal Legine. I can never pronounce that. Thank you for your $2 super chat. Trump needs to sue Sonny for lying. Did he say that? No, we said he didn't say that.
Right.
We thought what she probably was referring to. But you're right, she did not say that. Thank you for your super chat. Kung Fu CJ, thank you again for your $2. Shelly E about to cut someone out. See? And
She'll read a card. She'll read a card tomorrow. Sunny Houston. She'll be reading a card.
We have one more from Yanni. Thank you, Yanni.
Yanni.
Thank you for your shirt picture. I like that. It doesn't matter what we do. They'll just rewrite the book. That's basically what Dan said just now. Such a profound statement and so true. It resonates so much in my personal life. Wow. Thank you, Yanni, for your super chat.
Yeah, thank you, folks. Thank you all so much. We appreciate it. You guys help us. You keep us online. Again, our goal is to reach 250,000 subscribers before the end of the summer. We need your help. Please, if you're enjoying this, hit that like button and subscribe. All right. So moving right along, we're talking about these political parties. So which party is, or is it both? But is one party more into this political violence than the other? Let's talk about this. Take a look here. This is clip 5.
Brought up this idea that the left and the right are equal when it comes to calls for violence or acts of violence. You have done an amazing job of digging through the data, and what did you find?
All right, so Geraldo, see if you find this compelling.
Okay.
All right? So it seems to me that there are 3 main sources that you hear a lot from the mainstream media that allegedly prove that the problem we have right now of political violence is a both sides problem. There's the Cato Institute, there's the Prosecution Project out of the University of Cincinnati, and then there's the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Now, these are all always shared by the likes of The Economist, the Wall Street Journal today shared Center for Strategic and International Studies. The problem is when you dig down into that data, it is so deeply flawed. Let me just give you a few examples, okay? The Prosecution Project, supposed to list all of the acts of political violence in America, does not list Charlie Kirk's assassination, does not list Trump's assassination attempts, does not list any George Floyd violence. 24 Americans lost their lives during those riots, not listed. But every white nationalist who's a drug dealer, that gets listed. So they list 33 white Aryan Nation people who had a meth lab. This is political violence because they happen to be white nationalists. All right, Cato does not list the 9/11 victims, does not list any George Floyd violence. Center for Strategic and International Studies, where does it get its data from? The ADL, highly partisan, and the Southern, which just was revealed to have allegedly been funding the very racists that they were supposed to be fighting. And finally, I just have to mention this, the Center for Strategic and International Studies has in its methodology section, it says all anti-Semitism is right-wing. Any attacks on Jews or Jewish institutions, they reclassified it. If it was in the name of Palestinians, they reclassified it as ethno-nationalist. So by their definition, there's no such thing as left-wing anti-Semitism, which we all know is just nonsense. This is the data. It is flawed. Shame on the Wall Street Journal and shame on The Economist because they're giving a flawed view. And I totally agree with Katie. We can't, it would be so nice to say, kumbaya, we all share the problem. You cannot fix a problem if you are lying about what it is.
Yeah. Yes, she is absolutely right. Of course, that was Batia Ungar from News Nation. And she's right, folks. I want to get you ladies' response to this. I want to start with you, Nicole.
Yeah, I said last show, I think Monday, that we can make statistics say whatever we want to say. Whatever numbers we want to feed into data, or use data the way that we choose to make our point of view. The truth of the matter is, no Republican has been shooting at Trump. No conservative. The conservative did not
been shooting at Obama either.
Listen, this is what they did. But the thing with the threats on President Obama's life were treated as if there were actually bullets fired, right? When you talk about it in the media, they say, oh, well, you know, there were 11 threats against Obama, right? Trump gets 11 in a week. What are you talking about? It's not the same, and they know it's not the same. But again, this is the mainstream media doing what it does. It's always going to spin for the left. It is who they are. It is what they do. Now, I hope coming out of this situation that the administration takes this much more seriously. I would hope that the media would take it very much more seriously, because that ballroom was filled with them, their friends, their family, you know, movers and shakers in Washington, D.C., all of them. That could have been a mass casualty situation. Remember, this is the same Hilton where Reagan got shot. I mean, at this point, we should never have another party at the Hilton. It should be scratched off the list. But there are very few places in D.C., because D.C. is a very small city, very few places in D.C. that can hold a group that large. So, you know, Hinckley Hilton is not the place. I would not want to be, you know, there with a gunman who's, I think he had a gun, a few knives, 2 guns, and a couple of knives.
I think, yep.
So this guy's a whole lunatic, a nut, and he's coming to kill anybody he can, because those bullets had no name on it. He would have killed journalist, podcaster, wife of podcaster with no problems if it meant getting a shot on Trump. You would think that would give them pause. It has not. It has not.
Your thoughts, Shelley?
So a couple of things. Number one, I thought Bach, she looked really nice too on that.
Yeah, she did. Her hair looks
interview.
great.
She did. But nevertheless, okay. So first, I was glad that she didn't mention Pew, because I love Pew. Number one. However, I'm not saying that Pew cannot be biased, but Pew is, I think, is a trusted, time-tested survey, whatever, group. Number one. Number two, to your point, Nicole, it does mean that there's bias built in, right? Even in research surveys, but we will tend to maybe gravitate towards whatever one that substantiates what we already believe or want to, whatever the case may be, good, bad, or indifferent. That's number three, is that this is the importance. This underlines the importance of looking at different sources, okay? Even for the same.
She named 3 different ones.
No, I'm talking about anybody, even for the same topic, looking at various sources, not just the ones that we wanted to agree with or this whatever, but looking at it and seeing where it reminds me of that CNN poll a couple months ago when it said 100% people, you know, agree with Trump, whatever, and you know, people were like, oh yeah, no, that doesn't even make sense. 100% is a little bit dubious right there. My point is this: having being able to look at as much information as you possibly can, given the time, the limits. But it also, someone said this on, I don't know who, I heard it, somebody say it, so it's not me originally, but they said there's rhetoric. Now, maybe there's a statement to be made that rhetoric can come from both sides. But as far as the violence, the bullets are only going one way. so that's a distinction I would just make too. The rhetoric, okay, fine. And then you could even say I think people have said it, you know, well, when Trump says things, we know that, yes, he does. I'm not making excuses for it. That's just a fact. He does. However, that's just rhetoric. The actual bullets, assassination attempts, actual meeting, you know, drawing blood, certainly with Charlie Kirk, that's only one direction. And it's coming from the left. It's coming from these radicalized loonies who really believe that because someone said something they don't like, they don't agree with, or whatever, that they have the right to take them out. That is unidirectional. Unidirectional. And that's just it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, as you mentioned, there's data, there's, you know, bullet points and charts and all that. Then there's our own eyes. All right. We've seen this. We've literally seen this since 2016. All right. Democrats own the riots. They own the firebombs, the assassination culture, and the skyrocketing tolerance for violence since 2016. All right. That's just it. We've seen it. Okay. And so we got to just start calling this stuff out. Not just that, but we know that the news, culture, education, it all leans and pushes one way. All right. So whereas conservatives, we are more likely to seek out multiple sources of information, not even intentionally. I mean, we can seek it out, but then we get opposing viewpoints because it's thrown at us all the time, because it's all over the place with, again, education, culture, politics, news, mainstream media. It all leans one way. But if you are on the opposite side, if you're on the left, then you really have to seek out opposing viewpoints in order to get any other perspective. And there's the problem. And that's how we have created this environment of nuts. I won't even say nuts, but I'll say indoctrinated people that truly believe that their country is led by a fascist, by a Nazi, that we all are, racist, black racist, white supremacists. The list goes on. They truly believe this because this is what they're being told from all angles. That's a problem.
Yeah, they believe their own echo chamber. Right. We have a few super chats coming through here. Southern Charm, go Dogs, thank you for your $5. Has anyone talked about why the gunman said he wasn't including Kash Patel on his list of victims? I don't know. That was just kind of bizarre. I mean, his quote unquote manifesto was bizarre. I mean, it was just, I don't know why. I haven't heard any reason why, but I'm sure there'll be a conspiracy coming to fill in those gaps.
For sure.
Josh, thank you for your $20 again, Josh. In 2015, Trump said, wouldn't it be great if we could get along with Russia, the biggest Christian nation we aren't allied with? Why? They have the most natural resources in the world. Then Obama framed him as a spy. Okay.
Very true. That is absolute truth.
Thank you. We also have Kung Fu CJ again. Thank you for your $5. Here's a nugget for you. Cole Allen is of Jewish descent. Okay, he's a would-be assassin Jew. Okay, whatever. Jess, what's this? Jess CIS. Thank you for your $2, Jess. Trump is the only president who has ever been shot 3 times. I'm going to correct that and just say shot at 3 times, and 1 time was a hit, if you will.
Wow. Yeah.
Thank you, Jess.
This question for you all. Are we in trouble as a nation? Are we in trouble? Because I know on here we talk a lot about the left and the violence and the rhetoric and so on and so forth. But when you really take a look at it, it's on the right as well. Take a look at this clip of Steven Crowder. He is, if you guys don't know, he's a conservative podcaster. And he's talking, and I never really put this together. I mean, I've always kind of thought about it, but the way he kind of puts it together, folks, we're in real trouble. It's not just the left that we're seeing are being totally taken over by this unhinged violence, but now we're seeing it on the right as well, and it's sort of the same thing. People are believing these stories, whether it's influencers, podcasters, newscasters, they're believing them without any evidence, and then they are starting to act on it. And here he's talking about, of course, the assassination attempt against President Trump, but then he's also talking about what's going on with Erica Kirk and the assassination attempts against her. Take a look here. This is pretty fascinating. All right, let's see here. Okay, here we go. I'm not going to play this whole thing. It's starts here.
The gleeful celebration and mocking the pain of a widow. And I don't use the term trauma the way that other people use it. It's traumatic. I had a bad boyfriend. No. Probably had to watch her husband be murdered hundreds of times and answer questions and identify the body. And I would imagine doesn't know which way is up emotionally and probably won't for a while now. People going out of their way to attack, mock, and specifically the pain of the widow used as a tool. I don't mean like O.J. Simpson jokes about it because everyone kind of knew that he did it and it's a joke on a late night show. I mean, if you go on social media, oh, is your husband dead? Cry about it, husband killer, and to the tune of hundreds of thousands of posts and millions of views and likes and retweets. This is it's a level of evil and demonic, I don't know how else to describe it, that is actually detached from reality.
And just for context, folks, he's talking about, again, the White House correspondent's assassination attempt. Erica Kirk was there as well. And she is pictured running out with everyone else crying. She's pretty broken up about another assassination attempt. Last, of course, was her husband. Now she's part of some assassination attempt. And so she's just broken up. But she's gotten so much pushback about that. People ask, why were you there? You shouldn't have been there. They're accusing her again of being involved with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I mean, the list goes on. All right. So I'm just going to continue here.
Because people will then respond, well, you know what, that husband offer. Someone said this when I responded. That husband offer deserves it. Are you sure about that? That's how people justify the kind of behavior we're seeing. Yeah, that person who killed her, she deserves it. You better have some really, really solid evidence to go after a widow and mock the pain of losing a husband publicly, repeatedly, if you're going to do that. And I haven't seen any evidence of it. But people live in a world, these same people believe, you guys need to be aware of this. When we talk about the fracturing of the right, I'm not talking about policy disagreements on marginal tax codes or even the level of foreign intervention. I'm talking about there is a contingency of people who claim to be on the right, that we have an administration that is protecting, abetting, supporting pedophiles, and actively sacrificed Charlie Kirk with a complicit TPUSA and Erica Kirk. They believe that 100%.
Yep.
And if you say, hold on a second, maybe that's not correct, let's walk through the evidence. They believe 100% that you are paid for, usually by Israel, to say that. So let me ask you this. When I say something bad is going to happen, what would you do if you genuinely 100% believed that a man was assassinated by his wife, organization, or the administration, or a foreign government, and that all of the people telling you otherwise want to send your children to die, want to shed your children's blood for Israel? There are many, many thousands of people who believe that.
Yep.
Just like the left believes that you're a Nazi and a fascist.
Yep.
And a rape supporter. I have never seen this. And I can tell you that I have sat across from enough people. I do have that luxury, a privilege of having changed my mind and having done cable news for a long time. I've sat across from enough people where I've seen people who maybe haven't thought of this, and I'm maybe informing them or enlightening them with some new information, and we can have a conversation. And I also am able to identify the difference between them and people who hate me, but kind of want to get one over on me, make a point that maybe I haven't thought of, score some points, but still kind of accept those terms. And I've also sat across from people who have either told me, or I'm very intensely aware, not only wouldn't care if I lived or died, but would gladly pull the trigger if they can get away from it. And I see that same mindset. I see that same behavior posture way more than I'm comfortable with. And no, this is not me saying that people need to be silenced.
Yeah. So I've seen it too. I know people that are so riled up about this TPUSA thing. And then, as he mentioned, these same people believe that Trump is being manipulated by Israel, and that they have kids going in that are in the military. And then they believe that all this is on the Jews, and that their kids are dying because of the Jews. And these are 2A gun carrying people, and they are going crazy about this stuff on our side. And as he mentioned, these people are riled up and they are not playing around. And they're going off of things, they're believing things that just no evidence whatsoever on the right. And it was the first time when he mentioned this, I looked at him and was like, because I'm always thinking about the left. I'm thinking, all these people are crazy. They're unhinged. They're stupid because they believe all this crap and it's not backed up by evidence. but we have a faction of it on the right. I want to get your thoughts on that, Nicole.
Listen, I've long held that the GOP is a big tent, right? And not everybody can be up front. Somebody got to play the pole. Somebody's got to be the nut job in the back. Every political party has its own fringe. Nothing is going to change that, whether we have a Republican president or a Democrat president, an independent president. There are some people who are susceptible to conspiracy theories. They're susceptible to wild, outlandish thoughts. And it doesn't really matter what it's about. These are the same people who will tell you that the United States doesn't even really have a space program. All of that was AI generated. And I don't know why people are so excited. Both sides have that. Make no mistake. And the reason why it seems so much more prevalent now is because the world is smaller. Because of the internet, because of YouTube and social media, what happens in Paris today, this moment, can be on your screen within nanoseconds. So the world is much smaller. So the crazies, we can't hide them anymore. In fact, some of the crazies have very popular podcasts. We can't do anything with them, and they breed more crazies. The goal, though, is to make sure that the crazies never reach the levels of power. That's the goal. That's the difference between us, right? We don't necessarily embrace the crazy. We're tolerant to an extent, the extent of crazy, but the left seems to embrace the crazy. They seem to make excuses for it, because the right thing for Democrats to say is, yes, we have a problem with violence, political violence. And I can't speak about what Republicans do. I'm not a Republican. I don't know anything about the way they move. But what I'm going to tell you is everybody who's taken a shot at this president affiliated with my party, and I find it repugnant. That's what they should say. But what they do say is, well, we got maybe a little problem, but they got the problem too. They got it worse than us. That doesn't work. Sometimes the better part of valor is just acknowledging, apologizing, and fixing the problem. I use that in my life in a lot of circumstances, because listen, folks, I screw the pooch like nobody's business on a regular basis. But when I do, I will stop. I will check myself. I will make it right. Okay, I apologize deeply, and I'm going to move forward with some better behavior. They don't do that. They don't have that self-reflection. What they think is, we're going to just terrorize them until they give up their power. It doesn't work. Donald Trump's not going anywhere. He's not leaving. He's already said that. He has this divine vision that shot that whizzed past his ear that hurt him was God's way of telling him, you're supposed to be here. Mm-hmm. He made the bullet go just far enough so he wasn't harmed. And he really, truly believes that he's on a divine mission. So he's going to do what he's going to do. You're not going to punk us out of our way of life. But by that same token, we too have our fair share of crazies. It's just human nature.
So let me ask you something, Shelley. So, and Nicole just said, and you've said this before too, that, our goal is to make sure these people that are unhinged on the right or left don't get into power. Okay. But my pushback to that is, well, in the United States, the people hold the power, or are supposed to hold the power. Well, what happens when the people have a large portion of the people are being swayed, or who are listening to some of these pundits, these influencers, these newscasters, these even in mainstream media that are reaching millions, most of these people? What happens when they start to fall beholden, or they start to fall for the propaganda that is being pushed out by these people with large platforms?
What I would say to that is, the rest of us make sure we are armed and strapped and ready for war. Seriously. Because number one, I've said many times, much to the consternation of people on my own side, I'll say, no, it's both sides. We do it too. I've said that many different ways. People like, no, Shelley, you doing it, whatever. I've said it, and I'm not saying this to prop myself up. I've said it because if you step outside of, just for the purposes of observation, or maybe, analyzing step outside of the R and the D bubble, so to speak. Just step as if you are outside of that and you're looking. And again, there's rhetoric and then there's action. Okay. Those are big distinctions. All right. I'm all for the rhetoric. I'm pretty much, I am free speech. So I do put limits on that when you threaten someone, things like that. But the rest of us, the crazies, I don't know if he mentioned Candace Owens, but I'm thinking he was talking about her. But I don't know if he actually said her name. But even as many people as she may reach, or Tucker Carlson, of course, has been in the headlines, whatever. As many people, even Megyn Kelly, as many people as they may reach that we may not agree with what they're saying or putting out. Number one, they have the right. I don't think the solution, let me say it this way. I don't think a solution to what we are advocating for is to take away the rights that all of us had, that we all had. That's not the solution. So we have to come up with better. What we need to do is be better prepared, okay? Number one, we need to realize that every crazy does not need to be responded to, okay? Every crazy does not need to be responded to. We don't need to highlight it, whatever, because really, truly crazy people, narcissists, people with psychological disorders, that gives them more fuel. They think they're getting attention. Even if it's negative attention, even if it's critical, they're getting attention, and that just spurs them on, a vicious cycle. But we need to be prepared, and we can't. I mean, again, maybe I'm naive in this. Maybe my naivete is that my default is that I think Americans, by and large, are capable of running their lives, making basic common sense decisions. Maybe that's my naivete. Maybe that is, but that's where I stand. I don't think that many Americans, or as many as the media makes us believe, I don't think that many people are able to be that swayed to that extreme by the likes of the Candace Owens types. And I don't think so. Maybe
how did we get this shooter?
Say that again. That's academic. That's not. I don't blame Candace Owens for that.
Well, no. I'm not blaming Candace Owens per se, but what I'm saying is we do have, these shooters, these people we see at the protests and things like that are getting violent. You don't think these people are somehow riled up by some of these pundits?
Some of them may be. Some of them may be.
Mainstream, yeah.
Some of them may be. Some of them may be. I'm saying by and large, your average American. Are there extremes? Absolutely. There have always been extremes in America. There's always the right to protest, to push back or whatever. Always. It's only been, maybe not only, but by and large, generally speaking, I would say in the last 2 decades, give or take, particularly in our academic system, not just colleges, because we see this stuff. A lot of these people are teachers.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of teachers, and they are not just college professors, they are grade school teachers. So it's starting there. So again, these are people that have been educated and are educating the next generation. So again, yes, they're extremists. Again, I'm going to make the distinction between violence and rhetoric, but at no time, 99% of the time, I will say, do I advocate taking away the rights that we have been given, bestowed, that are endowed to us. I don't believe in that, taking away those rights because we have the extremes. We have laws to handle the extremes, particularly when they act out. That's what
I don't think anyone's advocating for taking away the rights or censorship or anything like that. I believe calling it out. That's just my opinion. That's one thing I do think is a good way to do it. But folks, shout out in the chat. Let us know what you all think. Do you think we are, some have mentioned we are in maybe a civil war. Some have mentioned it's a spiritual war. Maybe it's both.
All of the above.
Right. Let us know what you all think and shout it out. All right. We are at the end of the night, folks. We are at the end of the night. Want to end on a good note. Want to end on a sweet, sort of an uplifting note. And we will be back on Friday night at 9 p.m. We'll be back. So please make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. Want to shout out our mods. Thank you all so much.
For sure.
S. Styles, Allie, Kung Fu CJ, Thank you guys so much for all you do with the chat. Gimpy's out tonight, so you guys are really helpful. So thank you so much. All right. So let's end on a good note. This is from the TPUSA talk, I think it was last night. A 10-year-old boy is talking to Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles, and you won't believe what he just said. This is clip 12.
My name's Bryce. I came here from Billings, a 10-hour drive. I want to be a priest when I grow up. I just wanted to ask, what would your advice be?
Don't be a Jesuit. I don't mean to no, there were good Jesuits sometimes. That's great news. How old are you?
10.
This is like the biggest white bill.
Why? I think it's a wonderful thing. Why have you decided you want to be a priest?
Kind of just because God's calling me.
Awesome. Love it. I love it, man.
That's beautiful.
You know, this is great. This is so
You left them
wonderful.
speechless.
I don't need to give you advice. I think you at 10 years old probably need to give me advice. This is really great. There are many moments when you work in politics, you feel jaded. You say all hope is lost.
Just talking about
the culture is dying. No one has the right ideas anymore. And then you meet a 10-year-old kid who says, I want to serve God and be a priest. And you say, guys, we're going to make it. You know, we're just going to make it.
I mean, in the form of advice, the only thing I would say is to continue doing exactly what you're doing right now, which is that you're answering the right question, which is, what does God want for my life?
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah. I just pray God continues to watch over him and protect him and lead him on the path of righteousness.
That's beautiful. That was nice.
All right, folks. So that's all for us tonight. Again, thank you all so much. Check me out tomorrow on @KJ Christian Conservative. Me and Michelle are back tomorrow night. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.
Good night.